Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Dan from Rebellious Noise. I am here again with Scott, Rob, and Lucas, and we are here to dissect all the goings on at WWE's The Horror Show at Extreme Rules.
Dissect, I like it.
Yeah, well, I wasn't trying to make a joke, but I'll take it. It's probably going to be the funniest one I make all day, so there we go. Did anyone watch the kickoff show, just out of interest?
No.
Yeah.
Bits and pieces.
Kevin Owens versus Murphy. I didn't watch the kickoff show, so what?
We'll
what did
fill you in.
think?
Kevin Owens.
Let me know what happened.
Yeah, Kevin Owens performed quite well, as did Murphy. As with most pre-shows, you just go, "Oh man, can't believe they're in a pre-show." But that happens a lot of times, to be fair. So someone's got to be in that spot. So it's one of the same kind of conversations we always have, where it was a nice little get you going in between Stanford and Rosenberg. It was all right.
Yeah, I only caught just like the match. I wasn't able to watch. I don't watch it the rest of it, but I thought the match was okay. I feel that obviously Owens, he seems to be sort of popping in and out of the company recently. I don't know whether that's obviously. I think that's obviously situation in the world revolved around that kind of thing. But I think he performed well. I think Murphy looks good. It is like another loss for Murphy though. I don't know how many we're up to now. In 2020, but it is racking up quite a lot. But yeah, the match itself was decent.
I was going to say, yeah.
Only went about 8 minutes though. Yeah, only went about 8 minutes. So for a pre-show match, it did the job, I guess.
It is weird that the pre-show matches lately. The pre-shows are literally just one match and they're not very long. You'd think at the moment you'd pack it out, especially as all the shows are short. But
yeah.
I'm not going to make them think that's a problem because I'm happy to go to bed at 2:30 in the morning rather than 5:30,
2.5 hour show, wasn't it, as well? So
yeah.
That's pretty decent. So,
less than Raw. My goodness.
Yeah, I know. And a lot more action as well. So then we're going to kick off with the match that we all did predictions for, the bar fight. Oh wait, sorry, they moved that. They've moved it to SmackDown because of declining ratings, apparently.
Oh, really? Okay, is that
so declining ratings on SmackDown? That's why it's been moved to TV rather than on pay-per-view. So obviously, disappointingly for us, no points all round. Sorry, boys.
Yeah, it's frustrating as well because just before that, it looked like they were going to do the table match, innit? And we were discussing off air, like, should we include that? Should we predict that? And we're like, they're going to put it on the show. And when they did, I was like, yeah, see, we should have done it. It gives me confidence that next time, let's just put one on there we think we're strongly about. But no, because even ones that are very, very strong, they just take off the show, because that one had a lot more build and whatever. But hey, it didn't happen, so let's move on.
So the show actually did kick off with the tables match between The New Day and Cesaro and Nakamura. Now, can you guys remember who your picks were for this one?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I don't remember picking for this one because, it wasn't announced. But yeah, so I think, what did you guys think of that match then? The opening match overall, the tables match, obviously. It was weird on SmackDown, them debating whether it was going to be a tables match or a steel cage match. It's like, you've been using tables pretty much like the last couple of weeks, so why would you randomly just throw a steel cage stipulation in? But yeah, what did you guys think of it?
I quite enjoyed it. Good start to the show. Like pretty explosive, really. Even like the way the actual match it started, boom, straight into each other, sort of thing. So it was good. Another one of those where it's just hard hitting spots. You always get that Big E dive out the ring, but this time it was that little extra flavor of the tables right next to him and all that kind of stuff. So I liked all that. Ending was fantastic, although it was a bit awkward lifting Kofi up, but like that doesn't matter. Like it just looks incredible to go through two tables like that. Didn't expect it to go that way. Kind of started thinking maybe they will win the titles, but that just weren't the spot I expected to end. Kofi going through two tables for a powerbomb. Even when they set it up, you think something else is going to happen, someone fall. But really pleased with how it's kicked off the show. Really, it's just another time where you just look at another thrown together tag team and go, the epitome of underused, and then they win some titles, and then Cesaro always makes it work. Whoever he gets thrown with, you go, this don't make sense. But then within about 3 or 4 matches, you're like, this is the best team going, So, screw it. Give them the titles. Why not? Why not?
I enjoyed it for what it was. I enjoy a table match, but I just feel like the fact that they're in a really confined space. Obviously, they've got the ring and then they've got the outs. I just feel like it missed something. Like I really enjoyed it for what they could do with it, but I felt like it lacked something compared to take it way back to like the Royal Rumble 2000 when it was the Hardys versus the Dudleys, and then Jeff done the Swanton off the top of the it was in MSG.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
They didn't have any of that sort of stuff, and with people like Cesaro, Nakamura, and the New Day, they could have easily done something like that and made it just that little bit more to stand out and try and steal the show at the beginning. And they just didn't. Like, I like the ending, perfect, but other than that, that was my only criticism.
I feel like it's one of those that can only go so far being the opener, though. You know, like, because it is Extreme Rules and there are so many wacky things going on in the night. Maybe that's why. Maybe there's got to be a bit of, you know, kind of restrictions.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But I know what you mean. It felt almost like a SmackDown tag table match. It didn't feel like a pay-per-view thing. But again, I think that is because there's just so much going on.
Yeah, yeah. But that was my only criticism. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked it too. I thought it was a fun opener. Table matches are usually like that, I find. I felt very strongly that the title change actually did need to happen, to be fair. I think the New Day, they kind of coasted on this title reign for a little bit. The problem now, though, is obviously outside the New Day. Like, who does Cesaro and Shinsuke face over on SmackDown? Because you've got Miz and Morrison, obviously, both villains. You've got Forgotten Sons, who have been tweeted out of existence. Back to being forgotten again.
Probably Lucha House Party, isn't it?
Lucha House, yeah. I mean, maybe, yeah.
That'd be good. We were all up for them winning it a few months back, weren't we? We were like, wow, they could have done that. It was amazing. So maybe.
When's the other Uso due back?
I think it is quite a while. I think it's one of those 6-9 month kind of injury.
It was his knee or something, wasn't it?
I think it was his knee, yeah.
Yeah, it's
knee. One of those massive Uso fan trying to downplay his fandom. I think it might have been. You know exactly. You've seen the scans, mate.
Yeah, which knee was it, Rob? What
Well, I can't say no. I haven't seen much.
Oh, yeah, true. Oh, glad you followed through with that, by the way.
Of course.
And you've updated it as well. Very nice.
I won't show you what I've updated it with. I'll show you off here.
Okay.
It looks like a bit of wrapping paper or something.
It's definitely not, mate.
Is that your pants?
It's not.
All right. But yeah, anyway, back to other duos, not just your mask and your pants. Yeah, I guess Lucha House Party is probably my pick, I guess, for that. I don't know what brand they're on. Are they on SmackDown?
Yeah.
I think so.
Does it matter?
Yeah, it doesn't matter at this point. I think they can draft whoever they want nowadays, can't they?
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing is, unless they bring a team up from NXT to challenge them, but then it's like, who do you bring up? Like, obviously with there's been a bit of talk of, obviously, with Adam Cole losing the NXT title. It's like, could they maybe bring Undisputed Era up to, then they could go into challenge for the tag titles and Cole go into maybe not a Universal title picture, because obviously we kind of know the direction that's going now, but possibly into an IC title feud with AJ maybe. But, with
what's going on in the main roster, I don't want Undisputed Era anywhere near that booking. So I hope not.
No, I think they missed the boat with that. Like the night after WrestleMania 35 was the whole crowd wanting them there, and obviously Cesaro that night got a bit of a rubbishy reaction, because obviously they spoilt the ironically a match with Kofi Kingston in it as well. Kofi and Seth, wasn't it? But yeah, so I mean, other than kind of bringing a team up from NXT, I don't really see anybody else that can challenge, unless they just throw together another like Franken team kind of thing, just two random faces to like, oh, you two team up and face. It seems like there's a lot more like depth in the Raw tag division, but yet they're doing nothing with the tag belts over there at all. They're just like stuck on Street Profits. And
Street Profits are the longest reigning tag team champions on the main roster for 5 years. Can you believe it?
What?
Team. Yes, I worked this out the other day. It's the Street Profits only tag team since the New Day's record-setting reign to hold either set of the Raw SmackDown tag belts for more than 100 days.
Bloody hell.
That's because they haven't been in matches, they've been in skits.
It's mental, and I don't know how much of that is down to the circumstances, obviously. Whether they've obviously nixed some matches between some teams, obviously, but no other tag teams won it, because obviously the Raw belts in particular was pretty much Seth Rollins and whoever he fancied teaming with that week would win the belts, and then he'd lose to someone like the Viking Raiders or people like that, and then it would be random tag teams. But yeah, and on the SmackDown side of things, you've had pretty much a non-stop kind of barrage of New Day and Usos kind of keep winning it, losing it, winning it, losing it. So yeah, the Street Profits are technically the most successful tag team on the main roster in the last 5 years. If you want to use that criteria, I think it's a hard one to use, I guess, because of WWE. The Revival last year, they had, FTR, they had 3 reigns as tag champions, but they weren't happy and they clearly weren't being used correctly, so it doesn't really mean much. But yeah, I think they're going to have to do something. I think they're going to go default, though. They're going to build up some sort of 3 or 4 way tag match, perhaps for SummerSlam, or they're going to turn Miz and Morrison face with the 2 ones they'll probably do.
It's either that, or as we said, they just unify the tag teams, that titles together, and then just have one set of tag team championships that flip between either show.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, like, at the moment, I'm just literally going through, like, looking through the SmackDown roster and seeing, like, basically who would you literally throw together. And, I can't really see anyone that they would throw together pretty much. It's quite like a heel-heavy brand, pretty much. And
I would move Shelton Benjamin back to SmackDown and team him back with Shaq Gable. That was a really solid tag team. A really solid tag team of 2 guys who were just wrestlers. I could argue as well, you could even have Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak fill that same
that could probably
kind
be
of
the
role.
only other one.
Because obviously they don't want to give Daniel Bryan a main title, but he's at least a credible name to challenge the tag belts and potentially even win them on SmackDown and have them for a month or so. But I'd argue there is definitely some scope there for a wrestling tag team. But it's just whether they want to do that. It seems they're just happy with New Day winning them back every couple of months.
Yeah, we didn't even think about that possibility.
They'll probably wait for Woods to get back now, and then they'll win them again and
break the record, won't they?
Freebird rule.
Well, they break the record, won't they, if they win the belts again?
Yeah.
It'll be their 9th reign as tag champions.
Easy to do that when there's 3 of you. As much as I love the New Day, if you're new here, guys, love the New Day, hate the Freebird rule. But
I think Xavier Woods has technically, hasn't he been like a tag team champion and lost the title twice since he's been injured?
He's probably been champ. Since he debuted on the main roster, he's probably been champ more days than he's not been champ, because of the amount of reigns that he was part of, weren't part of, but technically means he's champ. Yeah, I'd like to see the stat of that, actually.
That would be interesting.
That's research for next time, guys.
Yeah, I'll get that stat.
Sorry, I'm not Statman Dan on this one, I'm afraid. Sorry. So following on from that then, we move into the first match that we could actually make predictions for, because it actually happened, and that was the SmackDown Women's Championship match between Bayley and Nikki Cross. Now, we all went for Bayley. We were all correct in picking Bayley. There were times, though, when it looked like Nikki could win it, but ultimately Bayley prevailed, clocking Nikki Cross with Sasha Banks' boss ring in the ribs, then hit like a face buster for the win. Floor is yours, guys. What did you think of this match?
Another just entertaining time to watch anything that Bayley and Sasha are doing, really. There was obviously going to be a thread through this show of the 2 of them. Obviously, which we'll get into. And even like you say, our predictions, we got them right, even if it took me a while to come to that conclusion of Bayley winning, because a lot of it does depend on the other match, we all kind of felt. So, but in the end, I think they've done it quite well. Again, Bayley being entertaining, running up to the plexiglass just with the title and, silly little things like that. It's just, just love watching them. And it was a good match. It wasn't amazing, but it was a good match. And there was a few times where you thought Cross could do it, but I felt this one was a bit more sure. The more I watched it, it just seemed like Sasha wasn't going to turn, and like it felt like this wasn't really what the story was about. It was about the match later on. So once we got Sasha's, which cleverly placed and all that. I like the spot. The spot was pretty cool. So yeah, generally all round decent match.
I'd have to agree. I think they did a good job of making Nikki Cross look like she could be like a champion. I think that's something which an avenue they might explore later on. It is one of those things though with the women's division at the moment being so strong at the top that sadly someone like Nikki Cross, it's just like they're not going to do it at the moment. When the division is kind of on its knees, or when they're kind of, you know, if we can get into a position of talking about a UK tour again, and they're thinking of, okay, maybe Nikki Cross to be put over the belt over in the United Kingdom. But at the moment, it's just everything is, and it's so it should be. It's so focused on Bayley and Sasha Banks. It's so refreshing because we had obviously a year of it being focused on Becky Lynch. Obviously, Charlotte Flair has been about 5 years focused on her and a, what was it, 62 title match, or whatever it was. that was pelted out at NXT Takeover, and I think it was so refreshing to you know have these new two, well not new two, but have Bayley and Sasha kind of on both brands and in the tag division, single division, do so well. Match wise, I think that. I mean, we're going to get to finishes of matches as we go on through the show, because I have to say that this one is I'm going to let off, but we are, as we're going to talk later on, there are some finishes that just were absolutely not good at all. I felt that it was just a little weak. I think obviously we've seen William Regal used to use the brass knuckles, like power the punch, and I just felt a bit like this was a bit like she punched her in the ribs. It's like fair enough, and then did a rubbish version of Charlotte Flair's finisher to kind of win a match which I felt was going really well and was very competitive and was edging towards that. Okay, you've done your finisher. You know, Nikki Cross, she did her finisher on the outside. There's all that kind of stuff going on, and to have it just over with a really, and it wasn't really shot well as well. I mean, obviously. Sometimes, sadly, what happened to cameraman just kind of missed the actual weapon part of it. So to me, at first, it looked like she just literally tapped her on the ribs and then did Charlotte's finisher and then won. And I was like, why is she doing Charlotte's finisher? I did notice something though. Bayley at the start of the match did Tessa Blanchard's muscle kind of pose. I don't think she owns that pose, but she did a bit of that kind of. You know, and I don't know, because there is obviously the rumour mill spilling about Tessa Blanchard, where she's going to land next. And obviously, she is probably one of the top 5 women in the world. And, you know, there is talk that she would be potentially coming into WWE. And it was just an interesting thing. She'd never done this before. And I noticed it on SmackDown too. She's done the Tessa Blanchard pose a couple of times now. So, you know, is that perhaps some foreshadowing for what's to come? But overall, an enjoyable match. And, you know, in terms of how, even the finish was weak, it wasn't as weak as what was to come, as we get to.
I think you're right, actually. Sorry, Rob. I was just going to say, what I liked about it was actually in the replay shots. You know, like I like the establishing of what they'd done for the replay. I think you're right. Looking back, I don't think the end of the match was... It was a bit more clustered than when you in a replay. They managed to get a really cool shot of it sitting there and stuff. And I think it was just the fact that she's had them for so long, and I don't really remember her using them before. And I was like, of course she'd use them. So that's why I liked it. But I think you're right. It was a bit sloppy. If it wasn't for the commentators and the replays, it would have been a harder one to enjoy, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree. I said I don't want to be moaning about endings of all matches because I've got so
we're gonna get
there.
There's plenty to choose from.
My only, again, I don't want to criticize too much because I really did enjoy this match. I preferred to most of the other matches, and I know it's not just because it's the women performing and they're doing well, as we spoke about in previous videos, but their chemistry in this was so great. And do you know what? I don't even think it was just Sasha and Alexa on the outside, because they help them carry the match without even having to do too much. Like they cause an atmosphere without having to be in the ring. And not a lot of teams, when they're together, do that. They try and take the shine off someone else, but it was done so well. As you said, there was a moment where, as Lucas Wright said, with the SmackDown, there's never been a time where we've seen someone look like they could potentially win. We see that with was it Tamina? You know, and it just we knew she wasn't. So it's never looked like we've seen someone actually have a chance to win. And for a second, I was like, oh, maybe Nikki could actually win this match. Again, then we got to the ending. What irritated me was she punched her in like the gut and then done a move to the head. She wouldn't, it makes sense to punch her on the head, then do a move to the head. So it's the same body parts that had impact. That was my only problem with the whole thing. I just didn't like where she got punched. that was you know.
I guess maybe, because I was thinking that why not a punch to the head? Because it's not like it's a steel chair or anything like that. But maybe it was the fear that it's harder to execute a real looking punch. You know, like a punch to the stomach is easier to I don't want to use the F word, fake, than a punch to the head. So maybe that played a part.
It might be because like the sharp edges and that they didn't want to like cause any kind of injury. Or
don't they sell that as merch as well? Maybe so I don't want kids
possibly
punching people in the face.
or they didn't want to accidentally extract her eye. You know, that might have spoiled something else. So
imagine Vince in the back like a legit eye injury and then going, "Oh, they've ruined the finish for later." Like rather than going, "Is she all right?"
But that was my only criticism. Like I said, the match was great. It was just I didn't like the fact, or if she was doing a rib shot, she should have done a move to the ribs. You know, like the walk back like the Bayley to belly, because it does work around the area. You know, just something like that.
To be fair, she'd already done it on the outside, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So could have done that, or even abdominal stretch, and she taps, going, "Oh, my ribs,
just something."
Crikey.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, you know, overall, I think it was actually a good match, and you know, obviously the finish was what it was, you know, and I think, you know, echoing what Rob was saying, you know, it was a bit of an annoyance, the fact that obviously the punch was to the ribs and then the finishing move to the head, and you know, I don't recall seeing Bayley using that as a finisher before, and it's like, why would you suddenly just bust out a random move to then win the match? It's like, you know, you'd think, okay, it's a big title match. You know, I'm one of these people where, you know, I like the iconic moment of like you see somebody just hit that big finishing move. Like, you know, okay, as soon as Austin like kicks someone in the gut, you know, okay, the stunner's coming next and that kind of stuff. Whereas, you know, she's hit her in the stomach. It's like, that could have even, like, I would have happily, in that instance, taken like a schoolboy roll up, like, well, where she would like punch her in the stomach and then just grab her head and just, I mean, that even something like that I think would have worked better. But yeah, I mean, it was what it was, and you know, I think in the end it was the right outcome. I think Bayley winning the match, and I think doing the finish like that made Nikki still like didn't make her look super like weak and that. So I think it could be a thing where it keeps Nikki on that level where, you know, oh, I have got Bayley's number.
Yeah, like eventually, because it does seem
to resort to this to beat me, kind of thing. So
it does seem like she's going to get there eventually. So it's wise to keep her looking strong.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why they did it. So so then we get into the next match now. Let's see, what did we all predict for this United States Championship match between Apollo Crews defending against MVP? Didn't happen. So, WWE's official take on this, it didn't happen because Apollo failed a physical before the match. Real life, he got COVID.
Yeah, well, I guess, well, I think I'd have more respect if they just come out and said that, and I'd be more understanding, because even if they thought he had it and they were trying to see if he'd be better and stuff, you've advertised this. I know it's not like it used to be where you're paying, well, some people still are, but paying for pay-per-view. But you've literally sold someone something on a match that ain't happening. Now, they might want to be like, yeah, but this match isn't the big deal. Like, man, you can't do that. It's false advertising. If you knew, then I have no sympathy there, because you could have done something before. Now,
They always caveat though with the card subject to change.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that's their way of getting around everything.
If he had COVID, they probably didn't find out, and maybe they did find a date. I don't know, but it seems a bit fishy that he ain't been around for quite a long time. It's starting to add up, not looking good in WWE's face. Maybe we're wrong, and if we are, then fair enough. But from the way it looks at the moment, it's kind of a bad decision, I think. So yeah, it's a shame we didn't get the match, but I started to think, like, WWE should just get wrestlers to film attacks where they're attacked by masked people everyone has one in the archive, just ready to go, and they're in street clothes because then you can't, or wearing a hat because if someone changed their hair or their attire, then they can't go, this was filmed like a year ago. Just wearing street clothes and getting attacked. Have that in the bank, ready to go. Anytime you have something like this, it happened last week. So you don't have to go, remember that Full Nelson 4 weeks ago? Oh, took it out of him, mate. So if they had here's such and such getting hit with a lead pipe that we filmed 2 years ago, but it looks like last night, that would have been a bit better. But maybe that's an idea, WWE. You can take that.
Well, apparently it's been noted by obviously Dave Meltzer, one of the well-regarded wrestling reporters. Apparently, so he said, his quote from the Wrestling Observer says, so Apollo Crews was COVID. People have been suspecting it, and it was. So,
but then again, maybe there's maybe it's a privacy thing. Doesn't want people to know that. Maybe
Apparently, it's WWE. They've said that any of the talent and stuff are not allowed to mention it on Twitter and stuff and anything like that. So the talent are not allowed to say anything unless it goes through WWE's official channels. They will then have to mention it. But I think they're just trying to keep everything a lot hush hush. And
because it might mean everyone was right all those months ago when none of this should have happened. When masks should have been worn, when social distancing should have took place. Turns out they were wrong.
And it turns out that Kevin Owens was actually the guy who went to Vince and was like, yeah, I'm not happy working in this environment. Get masks on, people.
Yeah.
So,
it's a shame it's got to
but
this. I'm surprised it weren't earlier, Maybe it was and they could hide it more, but now they got a title, they really couldn't hide it. But
but technically, so Scott and Lucas, how do you guys feel about missing out on points? Because you could argue that technically MVP won the title by forfeit because the match, won the match via forfeit.
But that's where, on the last show where you're talking about the bonus point where you specifically say they're going to win, but they're going to keep the title. That's a double, So we didn't say anything like that. So fair enough, I'm more annoyed at WWE for cancelling it than,
to be fair, they could have literally just said it on Raw, or they could have done some kind of angle on Raw where they say, "Oh, he's still feeling the effects. We're going to have a medical update on Sunday, and if he can't defend the title, then
most companies would have gone because you haven't got that. We're giving you the table match, which we knew was coming but wasn't announced. They could have done something like that,
or chuck Owens and Murphy on the main show as the opener and just move everything up a slot. But anyway,
I feel a bit cheated that we didn't even get a match, though. I think
I was waiting for someone to come out. Yeah, I was waiting for someone else to come out,
like Ricochet or Cedric or someone like that.
Yeah, I just feel a bit like it was a double kind of annoyance for me. I felt because MVP still hasn't had a singles match from pay-per-view for 10 years. Believe it or not, he's still not had a singles match on pay-per-view since he returned. But obviously his last one was meant to be against R-Truth, and then Lashley.
That's what I thought they were going to do, something like that again.
And I just felt a bit like you just came out to do. It's just because I think MVP's been so entertaining and such a really crucial part of making not just Raw, but making, I think, just the company as a whole kind of at least somewhat entertaining at the moment. And I just feel a bit like him and Lashley together, there's something there. And, obviously Lashley had that fantastic match with Drew last month, which obviously wasn't part of the original plan, but he did it and he's come off that loss. And I just feel this would have been a good chance, so at least, I hate to say it, as much as I know people were probably some of the smarter fans are loving Ricochet, but I just think at the moment, having Ricochet being disposed by Bobby Lashley would be the best bet and could have fit nicely into that, a nice kind of 5-minute match. And with Ricochet shown that, as with Lesnar, he's happy to go out there and do 90-second, 2-minute matches. I think that could have been something added. And it
would have helped everyone else involved, and we wouldn't have felt.
Yeah, wouldn't have felt so sour. I think MVP needs to be US champion, though. So I think it's one of those things where if it is COVID, it has to be one of those. Sorry, Apollo. But we need to move this on. And MVP's introduced the belt. MVP's been hanging, holding the belt around. There's matches and programs ready for MVP and Lashley to get involved with. If obviously Apollo can't be involved, it's a shame. And hopefully he can be, obviously, when he can return. If it's not COVID, though, what the hell are you doing? Just have the match and have someone win, have someone lose. I don't understand. Like, there's no, they didn't care about protecting Apollo Crews for all the years he was on television. They obviously didn't care about MVP before he got rehired and had this career renaissance, in his late 40s. So I don't understand why all of a sudden you have to care about protecting either of these people and not wanting the belt on. And maybe it's a timing issue, but the pay-per-view went 2.5 hours. So could you not have agreed a 5-minute match on there? But yeah, this is something which I guess we have to maybe wait until, it is backed by, either Apollo or WWE themselves saying, yes, look, this is what's happened. But that's my opinion and my take on it. And I was just annoyed that we didn't see anything. I would have liked to have seen something. I felt it was just a bit of a waste of time. Like, I think when we've had champions before, which haven't been too entertaining or too whatever, you're a bit like, I don't care that you're not on, in a nice possible way.
Yeah, this has been good. And we were interested to see where it was going to go. Yeah,
you literally, I'd go as far as say he's really carrying Raw as a kind of brand, I'd argue, to an extent. I think it's a missed opportunity here. It's weird that we're talking about, obviously, a man in his 40s, twilight years of his career, sort of getting this opportunity over younger guys. But I think it's very important at the moment with the Raw brand, how it is, that MVP is featured on pay-per-view. And I was just a bit gutted that he wasn't.
Yeah. I think my notes, before we move on, my notes for this match to sum it up was US title. What? So yeah.
I think the
nice belt.
The only thing that confused me is if he knew he was Apollo wasn't gonna be participating in the match, why did he come out in his ring gear? Why didn't he just come out in his suit?
Don't get me started on this. Same thing with wrestlers doing promos in bloody ring gear. When you know you're not got a match, why would you just walk around? But
especially Lashley, like, why was Lashley in ring gear?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
Do they own no other clothes? Yeah, it does my head in, but yeah.
Don't want to get the suit sweaty, innit?
True.
True. Yeah, so anyway, so now we move on to quite possibly the most strange stipulation for a match, I think, and it's one that I've seen has divided a few people as well. And that is the eye for an eye match between Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins, where the only way to win is to extract the eye from your opponent. So, who wants to start with this one?
I don't know where to start with it. I was so ready to see a match. When we was talking about having a match pre-recorded and then they just play it? I was so ready for that, and I wanted, like, not even something gnarly. Not that I use that word a lot, but not just something over the top or, just something. And we got what was it? What did we say earlier, Dan? It was a pool ball popping out.
Yeah, something like that. Cue ball with a bit of blood.
Yeah, and then Seth Rollins throwing up. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I think that's what's the most frustrating thing about this, because I expected it to be an off-site thing. I expected it to be taped. And all the rumours about CGI. Turns out some people ain't in the know after all. And yeah, it's such a shame because the match was really good and the ending wasn't. And just
let the match down.
Exactly. Just like so much on this card, just like so much in this time period, really. It's full of great wrestling, bad booking, really. Great performances, bad storylines. So, yeah, just really disappointed in what happened, man. Like the match, like I said, there were some really good things in it, good spots. And yeah, if you're watching for the first time, guys, we went over this in the preview, saying how much we didn't really want this to happen, and we were just dreading what they're going to do with it because you can't pretend someone's not got an eye. So obviously they got this kind of get out of jail free card they're trying to use of, as long as it's not fully detached, he might still be able to see. Oh, thanks, mate. Didn't realize that was going to happen. But yeah, it's just ultimately awful, really. Terrible thing. Like, the only thing I liked about it was Seth's kind of confliction at the end, because it kind of reminded me of that handshake with Drew, where he's kind of not sure of who he is, I feel, at the moment. Yeah. And he's had that doubt. And I like that. I like that little play, and how he's looking around, all the people booing him and banging on the thing and stuff. That was cool. And other than that, what a disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying about that, the only thing that I felt, like as you said, the match was great. The bit where Seth kind of realized what he'd done was like he still had, not that he doesn't, but he had like a touch of humanity again. Like he's a person, you know, he's not Seth, the god, a Messiah. He's still a man. And he kind of realized, other than that, though, I just don't understand the idea with Vince and bodily fluids. And, you know, I just don't get this fascination. Like, I understand, but why was Seth's vomit like lime green yellow? You know, what was he eating? The whole thing just confused. It was just weird. Like the match, I said, the match itself was good, but that ending, I just don't know what to think of it. I literally can't put into words how disappointed I am with it, even though we expected more. For the first time, I expected more, and I under-delivered.
I think we all hated the idea that we'd have to pretend that someone lost their eye. That was annoying enough. But I was willing to go, you know what, maybe the match is good and maybe it looks good. Like maybe they do think CGI-wise. But there was a picture in the preview video that we did, and there was a picture in there of fake eyes. They look better than the one WWE used. What it was.
There was actually
terrible.
stuff in the swamp fight where there was a jar with like eyes on the
One
shelf
of them,
in that.
yeah.
It's like it probably just picked one of them out or something. So
this is one of those situations where I think you know we've touched upon it before, but I think is literally like if this didn't have this awful stipulation, it would, and they just were able to have, you know, Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio, they would have an Extreme Rules match, let's say. I think it would have stole the show, and the spots they had were fantastic during the match. But like we said, it's just this match is all going to come down to the end. We just can't get past the end, and you know how badly they did it, because there was a few ways to go. There was the over-the-top cartoony kind of way to go, which maybe would have utilised CGI or relied on it being pre-recorded, which at least then looked like, okay, we've never seen something like this before. Like we're happy, you know, you might dislike it, but you can be a bit like, okay, well, at least it was something worthy of me tuning in to watch pay-per-view for. Or there is the legitimate kind of looking Quentin Tarantino-esque kind of eye fetish porn that could have happened, which obviously WWE being a PG company was most likely not the direction they want to go down. And then it's what we got. And we got something kind of in between, where we got this kind of lame attempt at showing an eyeball, but obviously in a kind of PG kind of way. And we got Seth Rollins puking like a little baby. I did like the end though, with Seth kind of being, I don't know, I did like the end when Seth kind of realised that, oh crap, I've actually done this. So I think this will be something which will be used to further Seth's character. So I think in that sense, it perhaps has done something at least. But I do think it's one of those where we're just not ever going to see past the fact that the stipulation existed in the first place. And why it did, when you've got people of the talent caliber of Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio, who are able just to have just a really fantastic match, as was shown in the first about 15 minutes. And then the last kind of 20 seconds, you nullified that by just having this awfulness at the end. And it just makes everyone feel just terrible, really.
And even what annoyed me as well was focusing on the step bit. Like you could, like basically Dominic coming out at the end. Why would he not come out earlier? Right now, you could argue Ray was like, no, this is my pride. I've got to do it X, Y, Z. I'm going to do it. Have faith in me, sort of thing. So Dominic had faith in him. But the point where your dad's head is being held down on that thing is clearly only going one way. Your dad ain't winning. Your dad's losing his eye. Why would he not come out then? It's just. And again, so many things they could have done. Like, I hated the idea it was booked in the first place. But if you're going to do it, just do it properly. Like, make us remember it. And you know what's really annoyed me about it? You know, not even dirt sheets, like the dirty red top rags. Those newspapers, when they jump on board, you know, when Undertaker's retired, and they you know, do things like that so that casual fans click it, and they say the stupidest things in the headlines. They literally write about Ray losing his eye. Like, if there's a way to put off casual fans, come on. Because there's a line in wrestling, you know? Death, like, usually, I know there's a few people when Benoit happened, people weren't sure, and they did the Vince stupid limo thing. But usually, death, or like whatever, it doesn't go that far. Certain injuries they never fake. You know, like we're okay with faking. I'm okay with faking injuries, but ones like that, you don't go that far because it's so unbelievable. It's so unrealistic. It's ridiculous. And the fact that they've done that, I just think, again, like I said in the preview, it insults us as wrestling fans, and it makes non-wrestling fans again look at us. I don't really care what people think. You know, people like, it's fake anyway. Well, Arnold Schwarzenegger's not a Terminator either, but. So I'm not really worried about that too much, but it's just like you're not helping yourself here. You know, you're making this thing that it should be like when it's at its purest, it's an art form, man. You know, like and you're making it look absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we've said a lot of this already on the these what do you call them matches, cinematic matches.
The preview. All right.
Yeah, but like that there's arguments there as well, but. For me, like, once you get to pulling out eyes, like, if you're gonna make an awful booking decision like that, at least make it entertaining. And I feel really bad for the guys involved, unless they pitched it, then screw them.
Do you know what? You know what it reminds you of? If you've seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit, you know, right at the end.
Watched it about 2 days ago, actually.
You know, right at the end when his eyes pop out and hit on the floor.
Yeah.
That seems terrifying, though.
Yeah, that works.
That seems terrifying.
Yeah. But I mean, if they could have done that way back like in the 80s, they've got so much more, you know, and the thing is, they're not like they're a bad company for like cinematics and
they blew up a limo, man. They blew up a limo.
And the DX Express. I mean, they've done so much and made it look amazing.
Yeah.
And this is what we got. I just felt like I was so ready to be unsatisfied by what they'd done. When I actually see what they'd done, I was even more unsatisfied because it was terrible. You know, they shouldn't have just said anything and let it happen. And the thing is as well, if you're pushing something against your eye's going to go in. It didn't come out. That's the other thing that confuses me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think for me it was some certain aspects of the match were kind of, I felt, although obviously they're still there to like put on the show and have like the wrestling match kind of thing, but it's like things like when Rey's hitting a frog splash, like how's a frog splash gonna help you take someone's eye out? You know,
it should have been that street clothes gone straight at it. You know what I mean? Like it should have been like that.
Yeah, it's like I like the fact obviously Seth coming down with like a wrench or something to, you know, and like the use of like the kendo sticks and all that kind of stuff. It's like that kind of stuff, yeah. But I think the finish, you know, the way they did it, I think they probably tried to do it as PG as they could, with the like extraction of the eyeball, and I think as well the way that they did like the update later on was, I think it's essentially their way of saying, okay, so if Rey doesn't re-sign with us, we've got this way of writing him off TV. If he does re-sign with us, then we're at least giving people hope that, okay, so it is this potential globe luxation where they apparently can reattach the vessels, nerves, and all that stuff, and you know he can maintain his vision. But you know it's still very like unbelievable and all that kind of stuff. And you know I think I showed you, Scott, an article earlier where like something about like a basketball player when he had his eye was gouged out in like it was a similar kind of thing, but
still step.
not a step, but I think that was more of someone's finger. But you know, I think it's one of them where it's gonna divide opinion, I think. And you know, I wasn't the biggest fan of like the stipulation to start with. You know, they could have gone through like a number of different stipulations, but for it to come to something like that, it was, and the way that they did it, I just thought it was a bit hokey and. You know, it was. To be fair, it's like you'd think if someone's eyes coming out, there'd be like blood gushing everywhere. Like there was hardly any blood as well.
A speck on his glove. That was
a little bit on his glove. You know, and But you know, I think it is what it is. You know, just happy that I got a point. So. That's the only good thing, I suppose, that come out.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but again, though, some of the wrestling, like shout out to both guys for the performance. You know, like you know, even things like Rey doing a curb stomp, it looked really cool. You know, like things like that. And yeah, some of the great like Rey sliding out the ring and did he do
Like
like
the
a
baseball
sunset
slide that he
flip?
does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sunset flip into
Yeah.
it, well, into the barrier. Like that was really cool. So again, great things as far as performance-wise with what they've been given. I can only sympathise with the guys really.
Yeah, I think there were so many other routes that they could have taken with like the stipulation to this match, but I just think I can see why they've done it to kind of cover themselves in case Rey doesn't re-sign. At least it's a way of writing him out of WWE. So it's just not like, oh, he's here 1 week and gone the next kind of thing.
There's a lot of other ways to do it though, isn't there?
Exactly. There's other ways of doing it. If you want to get him injured or something like that, just get him beat down by some big dudes
And then there's the fact
Lashley and MVP.
Exactly.
Make them look even better. And there's the fact that it looked like the seeds have been sowed by Dominic, I mentioned a few weeks back. The Eye's been played on for so long. And then did you see Seth even commented on it on Twitter? There was like a clip of him saying it back in December or sometime when there was still an audience, where he said to Ray, an eye for an eye. And it looked like, oh, wow, maybe they've... That's what made me think, oh, if the CGI rumors are true, then they've been working on this for about 6 months. It's going to look really good, at least. But, nah, sadly wasn't to be. We got shot in the foot in every aspect.
In the eye.
In the eye, yeah.
Yeah. I think, as Lucas said, that I'd feel so sorry for the performers, both of them, because they've done such a great job, as you said. But have you noticed, the only thing that we spoke about was the eye at the end. That was... everything that they done, they could have put on a 5 or 6 star match if you notice. But that ending,
you can't. It's not in the Tokyo Dome, mate.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? You put on an amazing match, and then that ending just ruins the whole thing.
It's I think according to the match time, it's saying was 18 minutes and 5 seconds. You're not going to remember the other 18 minutes of that match.
Yeah, and it was a good match up until.
And it's such a shame.
It's literally going to be the last few minutes and.
Yeah,
I mean, the only thing I can think of is WWE. They're liking this kind of instant kind of attention that they're getting and the retweets and that stuff. It's similar. I feel this is similar to how they were doing it with the trash TV stuff with the Lana Lashley kind of stuff. It's just kind of click. It just gets a click, doesn't it, from people? And even though most of it is discussed and kind of people hating it, in WWE's eyes, it's great. It's after Goldberg won the Universal title and they put the post up on Instagram and they got 1 million whatever likes or whatever, but then you read the comments and it's just everyone saying, he's old, retire, die,
It's a bit much that one.
Really did it in Saudi Arabia.
And then the next day on SmackDown, it was Goldberg's now the champion, and it's the most successful Instagram post ever. So it's
look what everyone's talking about it. Yeah,
it's kind of it's a thing everyone's talking about, but it's negative. The same thing here. People are they're not going to talk about it, but it'll be negative, and it's one of those things where even when you look back on the network in a few years' time, when you maybe go to rewatch this event because you want to watch some of the other better matches. I don't know, man.
I don't know if I'll ever rewatch any of this. Maybe to laugh, maybe to show a friend. Did you ever see when Rey Mysterio got out?
But what they're going to put on the blurb when they put, the finish, don't they? They usually put the finish. How are you going to describe this in a few years' time?
I don't think they've even worked out what they're going to put down for the finish for half the matches on the show. I don't even think they know themselves.
Yeah.
So,
well, this is the start of the downfall. Well, I guess a US title thing was the start of the disappointments, but
yeah. So then yeah,
keep them coming.
As we say, talking of dodgy finishes and not knowing what the finish of the match is, we have Vince pulling a Vince and changing a result at the last minute. Obviously, this was the Raw Women's Championship match between Asuka and Sasha Banks. Asuka, the champion going into the match, was supposed to win the match all the way up until the day, and then Vince was just like, nah, let's do something different.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, so apparently this was another...
You didn't get that from the CGI source, did you?
No, it wasn't the CGI source. Nope, that was from... hang on, I'll find it.
It's all right. While you do it, we'll talk about it then. Yeah, I mean, hated it. Another good match, but I hated it. I've seen
that sums it up.
Yeah, I've seen people online. One of the reporters, is it Sean Ross Sapp or something
Sean
like
Ross Sapp.
Yeah, I think it was him. He said he basically tried to be like, oh, but everyone was all right when it was Heyman doing it, one night stand. like, because basically he's not a ref either. Yeah, but he runs the company. I could kind of see him having a ref license over Bayley. So, and you know what? When you are the authority figure, you can you hire that ref.
Overall.
You can do whatever you want. And that's what this missed the most. The fact that no one came out and said, well, hold on a minute, player. None of that. You know, we didn't get any of that. And that's, all right, you can say what you want about authority figures, but this is why there kind of needs to be someone, even if it was Triple H, or even if Vince came out, you know, anything, Stephanie, someone's in the back with authority.
Hornswoggle, mate.
Authority. And they could have just come out and, you know, said, go back. But obviously they don't want to do that. But that just means it sucks and everybody hates what's going on. Like me and Dan were talking off air, like, how do we take this again for predictions? We kind of agreed that we'll take this as, well, she didn't win the title because it's not official. Hasn't, at the time of recording that we're doing this, they haven't put it on the WWE website that she is the champ, whereas they did do that. They did update the other ones that were actual new reigns. So what's the point? Like,
it's cost me a bloody point. Is
that's
what's
the point.
happened.
It's a missing point. Yeah, but MVP's running around with a title that ain't his, and now Sasha's doing the same. What, are you for real? Why are we doing this? Like, and straight after the eye thing, it's like they're completely tone deaf.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not going to be like it's not going to be the last confusing finish of the bloody show either, which is a bit concerning. So to go back on what I was saying with like changing it all the way up until the day. So that was reported by that reliable source of Dave Meltzer again.
Yes.
And it's
melted cheese.
And also at time of recording, it's also been noted that Raw has now been delayed. Some of it, the taping of Raw has been delayed and it's had to be rewritten. And the new script is said to be completely different due to creative changes. And some of it is likely related to the last-minute change in the finish of Asuka Sasha.
What is going on?
And regarding Asuka's match at SummerSlam, where they had an original plan that's out, and a second plan that wasn't certain, and a third plan, and the decision's got to be made now on which direction they are going to go based on who is available. So that was literally quoting what he had actually said.
This is actually insane.
Do you reckon the writers of like The Big Bang Theory on the day just went, no, you know what we should do? Let's change all of this. Why does it happen in WWE all the time? Like, we used to hear these kind of stories before, but when you think about the past year, all the changes, that have come out about Heyman being in charge of Raw, Bischoff changing, Pritchard, all the stuff before that as well, and then FTR coming out and Ambrose coming out and saying how ridiculous things are at the moment, like it's worse than you even realize, sort of thing. And now, the Good Brothers coming out and basically saying a thing. It's like, what is going on? What is going on at the moment? It's like, I know it's difficult at the moment to make the decisions you wanted to. You don't know, you got dealt a bad hand with COVID like the rest of the world, but it seems really bad at the moment.
I think it's a power trip thing, for Vince. I just think it's like he's not happy with the buy rates and stuff and the viewership at the moment. So he's just trying to do, because he's probably looking at it at the moment thinking, okay, so, everyone's moaning because Charlotte Flair's on every brand. So, okay, we'll try it with someone else. He's tried it with Banks and Bayley, and that seemed like it was working. So now he's like, okay, so people are tuning in to watch Sasha Banks, so let's put the title on her, but not put the title on her, but leave everyone confused as to what the heck is going on with this. You've got Asuka, who's like getting a raw deal with stuff as well. It's like,
if this really is the end of her reign, then my goodness,
it's probably going to end up as one of those things where, like, kind of like the Punk Cena thing, where both are claiming to be champions and all that kind of stuff, and it will probably lead to like, a champion versus champion match.
I mean, by the time people watching this, you guys probably know what's going on, but maybe you don't, and that's the point.
You probably know more than us,
But that's the point, though. Like you said, it's been delayed being written and whatever else. So maybe they're changing it just constantly, and it's like maybe they won't give a definitive thing here. Maybe we'll still be like, But I think you're right, man. I think they're just making quick decisions based on crazy things at the moment, like a world that doesn't exist anymore, ratings and stuff. It doesn't. Why are they the only ones that realize it's not what it used to be? It's so strange, man.
Yeah, so basically just a caveat though, just for anyone that's actually watching and doesn't actually know what happened at the finish. So essentially, so Asuka went to green mist Sasha Banks. She ducked. It went in the face of the referee. And then Bayley essentially took the referee's shirt off, put the ref shirt on. And then while Sasha was pinning Asuka, Bayley counted the 3, signaled for the bell, and essentially declared Sasha as champion. As ridiculous as that sounds, you know. But then I suppose the way that some people could look at it is, well, anyone can just pull on a referee shirt for the 24/7 championship. Why is it different if it's a Raw Women's Championship?
That's what happens when you don't keep up standards and rules and things like that, you know. And that's what I don't like about it. And so many of these things that frustrate me is just that you're messing around with the things that are supposed to be the principles and the core of what we're watching. Like, we all know what this is, but you can't. You're colouring outside the edges too much. It doesn't make any sense, you know. I don't want to get all Jim Cornette on everyone and be like, oh, we need to go back to X, Y, Z, because that's not the case either. There's you know. It's okay to do some of the things that they've done, but things like this, just stick to certain things. Give us some standards that you always stick to, and we used to have them, and I just feel like we don't anymore. They've over the years they've let certain ones go and brought them back. Like we said it even on, I think the last review we did about, you know, is this the new rule for this kind of match? I think it was one of those tag in, tag out type things, and we were like, well, it depends how they feel like booking it that month. It just doesn't matter anymore. And Dan, your little recap there, mate, it just reminded me of something I'm even angry about that I completely forgot, is the fact that during a pandemic, they're willing to spit in
I was about to
face.
say that.
Like, it's absolutely disgusting. I saw that it happened on SmackDown a while back. I can't remember who it was that took it then, but whoever it was, and this referee, I hope they got paid handsomely, and I hope they didn't feel pressured to do it, because that is one of the most disgusting things I've seen during this pandemic, is to allow someone to spit in someone's face. I don't care how much you've been tested. We still don't know what's going on here. And there's going to be, you know, there's people watching this that are going to vary in levels of what they think is and isn't okay, as far as masks, as far as conspiracies, as far as 5G. But what we do know is we don't know. So just don't spit in people's faces.
And it looked terrible as well. Like, there was hardly any green as well. It was like, if you're going to, you know, at least do it properly if you're going to do it. And,
imagine that on the show that a guy potentially has to pull out because he's got this virus. You're willing to spit in. You're willing to get someone to spit in someone else's face.
Exactly.
And what, even if it's okay, and they did do all these tests, right, which we were giving them the benefit of at the beginning when this all started, and then it came out there was stuff going on, or lack of stuff going on. But even if it is okay, even if nothing happens and nothing comes of it, it's the wrong message to send across. The same reason why footballers have to be careful and, you know, hit each other on the elbow and stuff like that. Even if they know they ain't got it, it's about the people watching at home. And they go on about, don't try this at home, and you don't want to make it too bloody, and you don't want to, you know, like Lucas said earlier, you know, that maybe they don't want to hit people in the face because of the boss things that kids wear and stuff like that. But you're okay to spit in someone's face when there's a virus going around. What the heck, man?
That's probably like the most dangerous thing on this show, and we've seen people's eyes get gorged.
Do you know what? Like, I'm glad that you rented, because I was going to do it. And
sorry about that,
job, mate.
No. But I see it last night.
I don't want to be that guy, but how could you not? You know what I mean?
But you're right. Do you know what? That infuriated me more than the way that she won. I really don't care like who the title holder is, but as you said, during a pandemic where we don't know what's going on and how you can contract it and stuff, and how you can be tested and all that. We don't know for sure anything, and yet you're allowing someone to still be able to do the mist, which it's just ridiculous. You know, there could have been a better, or even if she'd done it, both of them ducked. Yeah, you know, just knock the ref out, and then she could have just counted. She didn't need that shirt on to do a free count. That would, if the only thing that makes her an authority figure is by putting that shirt on, she could have just got one from under the ring.
And any wrestler can do that now. Any wrestler can do that now.
Or why did she not just slide in and just grab the referee's hand and just slap the ref's hand on the
Even that would have been better.
Anything.
Even that would have been better.
I would have taken that over that miss. That peed me off so much.
But it's like I said, though, if they can do it for when it's the 24/7 title, you just see like they'll be walking around with someone, they'll just take like a shirt off or whatever, and they're suddenly they're a referee for WWE now. It's like, well, so what? So if I was to just pin you, would that make me a champion because Scott's put on a referee shirt or something?
So can I say, if that is the case, next time Rebnoy is doing an interview sort of thing, can you just do a roll-up, schoolboy, and quickly give a free recount? And
To be fair, mate, we could have done it when we interviewed the Iconics and they were women's tag champions. Why didn't we just pin them and we could have been women's tag team champions? You
We
know?
could have been, yeah. No boundaries, mate.
Next time.
If that's how it
now,
works.
now we know how the rules go. Yeah, now we know how WWE likes to play this. Why not next time?
Yeah, just go to someone else, mate. Stick that shirt
Yeah.
on a minute. I'm just going to pin someone. Just slap your hand on the floor 3 times, and then suddenly, yeah. So, I mean, for me, obviously, it was bad because I picked Sasha to win, and obviously Sasha's not winning. But yeah, it's just a frustrating way that, you know.
Yeah.
Again, another good match, and we're talking about.
Yeah. Again, we haven't mentioned anything in the match, have we? Yeah.
This was like the longest match on the show, a 20-minute match, a 20-minute banger of a match between 2 world-class women's wrestlers.
Which we all thought would be the main event, actually.
Exactly.
You know, so
And you give us this piece of crap to end the match?
especially when you're doing vicious German suplexes like they were, and then at the end of it, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters, you know?
Like, I'll be totally honest. If this was the only, like, schmoz finish of the entire show, the only controversial finish for the entire show, I'd be like, okay, that's fair enough. But to have, like, 3 or 4 inconclusive match finishes on one show...
And following up as well, this came just after the guy, which came just after the US title. And...
You know, and then it's like, and then obviously what's coming later on as well. It's like, it's ridiculous. But yeah, I think we've said just about all there is really to say about that. I mean, Lucas, I don't know, have you managed to get a word in edgeways on this one yet? Or
yeah, sorry.
I haven't said anything. No, it's fine. I mean, I'm going to go a different route then because, we've covered the Miz.
Don't do that because I don't want to shout at you next.
No. I'm going to go another angle. My problem with it was just why are we back here more so than what happened. We've had a few months basically where we've built up challenger against champion. The challenger loses and then we move on. And there's usually not been this problem. But they're now seeping back into this just bizarre. And who honestly, like, who is this pleasing apart from Vince McMahon? I don't see anyone. There can't be anyone surely working as a producer in that company seeing a finish as complicated as this. Thing is, we haven't even touched upon the fact that there was Bayley got the belt in the ring, then she was out the ring, and then they were doing lots of things, teasing the belt shots, and then the belt got taken down, and then it was literally a finish which must have been on about 2 sheets of paper. It was so complicated, so hard to follow, and what was going on, and it just gets to the point where, AEW, they made a big thing of saying, look, we're not going to do dodgy finishes, and I guess that was their kind of way of having a little dig and whatever. And WWE, to give them credit, did start doing that for a little bit. They were like, okay, we're going to just go like, right, someone wins, someone loses.
We're just going to use a roll-up in every match instead of doing that.
And
WWE did get a bit like that, but still it was like, okay, we knew someone won and someone lost. And so if Sasha won and you weren't a fan of Sasha Banks, like, fair enough, but that's what's happened. It's called business. But this is just bad business all round. By making... The thing is, by trying to, if the finish was done to kind of protect, if she has lost the title, which I think she has, I'm going to assume she has.
According to WWE.com, Asuka's still the champion.
Okay, so, but the bell rung, so how are they going to get around that? Even though
so then it goes to logistics of who's authority, because if the guy rings the bell and he's got a feud against the ref, does he now have more power over the ref? Is the guy ringing?
Well, we had it with
what was it,
the Undertaker and CM Punk feud. We had the bell ringer, the bell ring, and I mean, I guess you've had obviously the screw job, which WWE milked that cow dry for 25 years almost. You had that kind of incident, but I just think it's a bit like, why are we here? Like, look, I mean, I'm fine with it. I guess it is very stressful for the wrestlers and most likely the production staff working on Raw and SmackDown at the moment, being told off and it changes. But why are we back here to this absolute madness? If you want to have this finish, And fair enough, the miss wasn't the way to go, in my opinion, and you stated it too. But if you want to have the ref get knocked down and then the finish happen, just have another referee come out. So we don't bury everything we've established that's existed in wrestling for the past 100 years.
Yeah.
We've established that referee is a trained official, is paid to referee, has a referee shirt, and if they get knocked out, another one comes and they come down.
Or
to
an
the
authority figure will restart the match, or put on a thing themselves, or because
or make a tag team match or something.
Yeah, or cancel, or throw the match out, cancel it, whatever.
Yeah,
I've got to say, this would never have happened on Mike Chioda's watch.
Yeah, it's all gone downhill.
Chioda would never have stood for that.
But yeah, just WWE, just sort it out. Just if Sasha has to win and it's a last minute thing and you need a cheating win, that's fine. But let's not go absolutely crazy and just insult people, basically. That's how it ends up being. And they can obviously use this on Raw tonight. Potentially they want more viewers for Raw. But obviously last week was abysmal. And yeah, but you know, it's just a case of don't get people pissed off to watch, because that's not really the right way to do. Because the first thing people are going to want answers to, if we don't give them a good answer, then they're going to turn off, and then you're going to end up with Raw peaking at, you know, just a little bit above last week, but then dipping right below. So it's not the right way to go. Just give people a result that they can at least go, okay, I didn't like it, or I don't like Sasha Banks, but I can see and appreciate that, look, at least it was an actual finish that I can dig and I can continue my life with. And then tomorrow night on Raw, I can tune in and see where they're going to go with it. Yeah. But this is just an insulting thing all round. And it's annoying because, yes, it was a fantastic match. Truly,
another common thread here, isn't it?
Yeah. And the official line of the match was that it's come out that it's been declared as a no contest. So
it's another one.
It's essentially WWE have thrown it out. It's like Sasha's essentially taken the title hostage. It would seem at the moment.
But why are we doing those two belts on the same program? You know, just make a decision. I mean, I guess there might be some situation with the Apollo situation where they're not too sure if he has it, if he doesn't have it. But just make a decision. You'd have to, I think, at this time. You have to say, sorry, Apollo, you can't wrestle. MVP just beat Ricochet. Now you're the champion. Sorry, we want to move this on from Asuka. We love you, but come on, Sasha's going to win. Yeah. Just do that. And you won't insult people. You might piss off Asuka because she obviously is expecting and it is deserving of a SummerSlam and potential evolution to, you know, really strong kind of match. And maybe she can still get that from someone else, obviously not for a championship, but just make a decision and live with it. And then book a good story around that. Don't do all this with just referees that aren't referees and just absolutely wiping stuff out. Because the thing is, during the match, all I kept thinking is Sasha Banks overrated or underrated? Because I can't quite work it out. And it's a bit of both, because I think, you know, she's very, very good, but she gets a lot of heat and a lot of problems with, obviously, her botching or her tendency to botch in certain matches. But in this match, I felt she was really, really good. And one of her best showings. Same with the one against Io Shirai on NXT 2 weeks back. I feel she's been on a really good run, and you've just ruined it now by doing this. And it's just infuriating. And I'm guessing we're going to get a rematch potentially. That's potentially what they're going to do on Raw tonight. Potentially what they're looking to get more time with, depending on what else they had announced. But just, I just wish they'd stop this obsession with messing up with finishes. Just give the fans a definite kind of victory one way or the other. I think they're just upset about offending one or annoying one fan base or the other. But it just annoys everyone, you know, when you
The only analogy I could think of was an eye for an eye makes the world go blind. And I thought, wait, they've already done that.
Thing is, match-wise, it was decent, and just hopefully they're going to correct it. I think it might be end up one of, you know, like how when they did the first Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and we had obviously Ellsworth win it, and they instantly kind of after the backlash just had to be like, oh crap, we can't do that. We know we messed up. And then they obviously redid the match a couple of weeks later, and it was obviously a really good match. And a woman actually won it, which, and we, you know, fair enough, people look at their commentators now, obviously disappeared off the face of the earth. We're kind of okay, won.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I know. yeah, somehow she's banging Corey Graves, but can't get on a SmackDown episode. Yeah, you know. But anyway, I think it might be one of those things again. They go realize, oh crap, we had two of our best women have a 20-minute match on pay-per-view, and we absolutely messed them up with the finish where they both now look ridiculous. Let's give them the Raw main event, or potentially even the SummerSlam. Really not main event, but a strong match on SummerSlam to kind of make up for it, and just kind of go, okay, right, because they're capable of doing it. And it's the same thing we're saying about Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio. They're capable of doing it. I mean, they've won WWE. We're not talking about people who just started wrestling. You know, we're talking about people who are, you know, they're the highest possible caliber of athlete. You know, going. You know, so just let them do what they can do best.
It's so weird that this is what they decide to do when they're in like a crisis of booking. They think this is the answer. These kind of things that, like, how do you think this is going to draw the audience back? It's exactly what's pushing people away. Like you said earlier about, you know, people not wanting to watch Raw because of this. You know, like I was intrigued about Extreme Rules. I really didn't want to see the eye thing, but I was intrigued about what they could do. I was excited about that. But I come out of it just thinking, well, I hated all of that. No, that's not true. I hated most of those big decisions. And I don't, it's not like, like you say, you don't want to be like, oh, what happens next? I'm just like, oh, how are they going to fix this? And that's not the way I want to feel about it. I want to be excited to go, what's going to happen in Raw? Instead of, I wonder if they even try to fix it on Raw. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think doing too many of them on one show is bad enough. Like, obviously, we can think of events that have ended screwy, in the past. It's usually just that one match, which I know we shouldn't be still saying just one match, but this one, it did feel like there was at least there's at least two or three where it's a bit like, come on, like this is just really annoying. Especially on the Raw sort of things, we got two championships that on with the champions. You're doing this, and you're doing the same story. Like, surely, like Vince and Bruce can't be that silly to not know that. Oh, we're having MVP pretending the champion. Oh, let's have Sasha do it too. But they're on the same program. Like,
I mean, they literally say to you, you're basically saying like, that show didn't matter, and that's what's the worst thing about it. It's mixed between that show didn't matter and wasn't out of awful, as in like the eye and some of the other things we're gonna get. So,
exactly. So we now move on to the WWE Championship match. Now, there was a lot of speculation going into it as to what Dolph Ziggler's stipulation was going to be. We had our own predictions on that, where I think Scott and Rob said they thought it was a ladder match.
Did we get
Lucas
a point
said,
for having a ladder involved? I'm just wondering.
Mate, if I ain't getting a point for Sasha...
Oh, that's disgraceful.
And Lucas, you said a steel cage match. I said it was going to be like a no Claymore match.
It was kind of on that though. It was kind of a similar feel.
I mean, I was probably the closest to it. So I'll
that's for us to say, mate, not for you.
Half a point. No, but in the end, the stipulation was an Extreme Rules match for Dolph Ziggler only. If Drew got counted out or disqualified, then Drew would lose the championship. I thought, obviously we knew going into it that it was going to be a really good match because Dolph Ziggler will just bump around for Drew all day long. Drew, obviously, is fantastic as well. Thankfully, Lucas's bold prediction did not come true.
I was really worried at this point in the show, considering what we'd already seen. I was thinking Lucas better not be right.
Hence why we're seeing you, Scott, in a Beastie Boys top and not an Otis.
Of course.
Otis top.
Yeah, because Dan did send me a link for a.
Oh, did you now? Oh,
I did indeed.
Oh, working warm on that. Getting prepared, are you? Wow,
thankfully,
you never know.
Oh, his shirt was about to come out of the budget, was it?
Well, Rob,
I would have bought it. I would have claimed it back from you, mate.
Oh, great! So I bought myself an Otis shirt. Great.
Yeah.
I didn't want.
I think caps are more his style anyway. So
yeah. Get me an Otis cap. I'll think about it.
What about it's a massive ham cap? Is that all right?
Yeah, or a Money in the Bank cap. That'd be nice. I can cash
just a
it
briefcase or something.
Yeah, a briefcase in my head. Yeah, I thought it was quite an interesting way to do it, though. Like I said, it is quite similar to your stipulation in the sense that you've got one guy that is basically, you know, tied up in what he can do and limited, and that turmoil and will it be an accident? My favourite spot was the suplex outside where he purposely misses the table and is frustrated. Like, I kind of wanted to do that, but I'm glad I didn't, but I also am annoyed I didn't, you know, and there was a few of those spots in it. Again, good performance, good match. It's not as bad booking-wise as the other ones, as far as, like, at least it was conclusive. But what does it say for Dolph? You know, that you literally, you have a match for the world title where you should be considered a peer and close to him anyway. I know we're trying to make Drew look strong, and trust me, this made him look strong. And that, not bro kick, the...
Claymore.
What's the one? I was going to say a hell of a kick then. Claymore kick looked fantastic. The timing of it, just pulling out almost like a gun, like just shooting, drawing when he can, you know, quickly. Loved it. And again, like we alluded to a while back, you know, when you just, in the old games where you run and press L1 to hit the gore, it's that kind of finisher, you know. Yeah, it feels good to hit. But so that was great, and it makes Drew look good. But like, how can you be challenged for the world title, and there are no rules, and you lose? There are no rules for you. You can do anything. You have beaten him up with weapons, and he still beats you. I just feel bad for Dolph.
I don't.
Yeah,
I feel.
No, go on, Lucas. Go on.
Yeah, I feel Dolph could have dealt with having a match kind of in between, like on Raw or something, to kind of at least kind of show that, okay, you know, build up to it a bit more. But in terms of the match, I thought it was fantastic, to be fair. And it just begged the question of why this is annoying, because now we're saying this is something which obviously is a new rule / new thing, but I like it. Because at least it makes sense. This is the thing. Because why wouldn't a villain do this? Why wouldn't a bad guy decide all the rules apply to you and I'm that man, essentially? Like, why wouldn't a bad guy do that? And why has it not been done before? The amount of champions are going to benefit from this. But anyway, I digress. I mean, I think ultimately this was one of those stipulations which I quite liked, and it did kind of help in that match scenario. Obviously, Dolph like always puts on a great performance, and Drew, as much as I'm not too much of a fan of him as champion, you know, in the ropes, so to speak, he's always had it done. You know, I loved his match with Lashley last month in particular. And yeah, it's just, like Dolph is most likely going to go back to disappearing act again. You know, because I don't think there's much else that he'd do on Raw. But yeah, overall, I quite liked it. I felt that obviously having an Extreme Rules, I know it sounds weird, but having an Extreme Rules pay-per-view without an Extreme Rules match would just feel very weird. But then obviously the way this card went, it could have just not been. Yeah, I was happy with it though. I was happy with it. I think as well, you know, it makes that Claymore look so bloody good. And in an era where finishers just get forgotten about or don't matter, the Claymore, along with End of Days and Roman Reigns' Spear, it's now up there with the, you know, the top 3 moves in the company, I'd say. And obviously Reigns obviously at the moment off television, so it's pretty much the top move, I'd say.
RKO as well. RKO.
Yeah, and like I was going to say another one, the punt as well. The punt got used so well years ago, and even Rollins' curb stomp was really incredible for
until Hell in a Cell last year. But they reined it back a little bit. Same with the F5, to be fair, because I think they obviously had. I watched the other day the Strowman and Lesnar match where obviously one F5 and done. Then obviously the other extreme where it was Reigns and Lesnar, and it's about 6. It just gets a bit ridiculous. But they're reining it back in a little bit, slowly but surely. But the Claymore, that finish looked fantastic. It's probably the best Drew's looked.
And what a privilege to be able to hit it on a guy like Dolph. You know, like they pulled that sequence off so well.
Yeah. And it's testament to Dolph, really. You know, in that regards, because he's so good at that kind of thing, I guess. But overall, I've got not many got no complaints in this, really. I think even though as much as I was just looking over my shoulder all the time for Otis, you know, kind of hoping Otis would show up. You know, that kind of fun side of me, you know, was doing that. But I think logically this was the right thing to do. And if Drew is to face Randy Orton at SummerSlam, cross fingers, you know, he needed this win over someone like Ziggler in this way, because Orton obviously has been on the run of probably his career in the past in a few years, I guess, with how just nasty and how just good he's been in this role. So I think it was important that he, you know, that Drew can obviously look like he can compete with that basically.
Do you know what? I really enjoyed this match. I like the idea as Dolph had the stipulation for him, so he could do what he wanted, and Drew couldn't. You know, to be fair, you pretty much said everything that we would have said anyway, like between the four of us. But as you said with the, I nearly called it the bro kick there, with the Claymore.
Too many kicks.
Yeah. I think with the Claymore, do you know what? Am I wrong? Because I did watch it quite late and I was shattered. But he didn't do a 1, 2, 3 count, did he?
No,
he did.
did he?
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
No.
I don't know if it was.
I don't think.
No, it wasn't then.
The
It
very
wasn't.
last one.
No, I don't think because he did one. Because I remember thinking the audience. It's a bit weird having the COVID audience there. But, yeah, maybe not for that.
Right.
Yeah, because it kind of come out of nowhere. So that
Come on. So do you see what I mean about you take away that count that I don't like, and look how more vicious it looks because you don't know when it's coming. So by taking out that count, the element of surprise and the fact that Dolph Ziggler sold it the way he did. I mean, he would sell. You know, you could drop something like small, like a feather on his foot, and he'd sell it like a champ. So so having both of them and that broke Claymore kick was beautiful. For me, that was like the perfect finish. Coming out of nowhere, and it was just the great way to end it. I mean, is the feud going to continue? I don't know. I hope not. If anything, it just made Drew look even stronger and more unpredictable, knowing that he has to work outside of the box with, and he's taken on everything that it can be thrown at him. So it's making him look good. Yeah,
it's surely going to take a lot to take it off him now because we weren't sure, obviously, but it's just reign's gone on. It feels like it really can't just be taken off him for something small now. It's got to be something.
It's got to be on. It's got to be on.
I don't think it will.
Even that,
it'll be a 30-second Lesnar match.
Oh.
Lesnar will just come back and beat him in like 20 seconds.
It'll be Goldberg.
Probably be, just a Saudi Arabia.
I was going to say, is there a Saudi show coming up? Then one though.
What if Brock did come back and F5'd him, walked out, and then Otis come out?
If I was
let's not go into that again.
I don't even think Brock would even want to be in the same room as Otis. If I'm being dead honest. I think if that conversation was to even come up, Brock would literally just leave. That would be it. We'd have to sing that Mania again with throwing the belt at Vince McMahon. Just say,
it'd probably be more like put me in a 24/7 title picture with R-Truth. No, I think for me, I think overall, I think it was really good, and it was really like a smart way of doing it as well, with on Ziggler's part. As I think as Lucas was saying earlier, you want the heels to be doing that a lot more. It's like stack the deck in your favor. It's like how can you possibly lose? And then just bam, you get beat just by like some big old Scottish foot right to your head, and it is probably the most devastating finishing move in wrestling at the moment. And I just don't want it to get to a point like it was getting to at WrestleMania, where it's taking like 5 or 6 Claymores to beat people. I think they need to try and protect that at all costs and just have it as like, as soon as he hits that, that's it, game over kind of thing. And
so it probably will be like the Claymore versus the RKO. Which one's going to get hit out of nowhere? And
yeah, and I do think it might just be something as simple as they're not going to hit it until right at the end, and whoever hits first, that's it. It's game over.
Yeah.
And that's for me, that's what I would like to see if that is the way that they go at SummerSlam. It's like, as soon as the RKO's hit, Drew's down. As soon as the Claymores hit, Randy's down. That's it. You don't need to do no other. You don't need to go through like 5 or 6 kickouts from them and all that.
Oh, it could be something silly, as in Drew goes for the Claymore, Randy misses. As Drew gets up, RKO comes. I reckon it'll be something along them lines. So it's literally when you least expect it, then it gets hit. But you're right, one and done is all it needs. I think if it's going to make that move effective, that's what it has to be.
Exactly, and that's the thing. They just overdo stuff so much, and it makes it look weak in the end. So when you're getting guys kicking out of stuff, but
credit to him though, this is the one match, probably the best match as far as like it did exactly what it needs to do. The only shame is what it means for Dolph going forward, but Dolph's been in this spot for many a year now, so it's not that much of a surprise, but it is just a bit of a shame. But as far as execution, couldn't have been any better.
Exactly. I think that's a really good note to kind of then now move into the final match of the night. Well, I use the term match very loosely on this one, considering that there's not even an official runtime for it, of like how long the match was.
There's no ref either, is there? When
There's no referee, so, and that was like kind of for
Bayley.
me. That was like, well, how on earth do you determine who wins this match? Like, there was nothing was set out before the match as to like, okay, so the way that you win this match is by blah blah blah. At least in the Firefly Funhouse match, you actually had Wyatt like getting the decision in the middle of the ring. Whereas this one, it's just like, okay, so he's popped out the water at the end. So
it was more
I'm guessing he won.
Yeah, or like the Viking Raider Street Profits one. It was more like that.
Yeah.
Where it weren't a match, but you build it as a match, so we're gonna have to take it as, I guess, a finish. You know, but
yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, it's fine them doing these cinematic style matches, but you know, at least tell us what's like. For example, the Boneyard match. Nobody like. Had you said, okay, the way that you win the Boneyard match is to bury your opponent, at least we know. It's like, because people were in there like, okay, so how is this match going to end? I mean, you figured it out halfway through what was happening.
Yeah. But it's like you can't relax. You can't like know what you if you're not looking for something, then there's no anticipation for it. There's no excitement, you know? Like if we knew it was the water, when it gets close to the water, you know, but there was none of that. You know, it's just like, is that the end? Yeah, you know.
And then they did their little tease with like the credits coming up at the bottom.
I really like that, especially with a horror theme. You know, the hand coming up, Mandible Claw, I think it was, wasn't it? So, like, really, really like that. That was my favorite part of the whole thing, really. Oh no, Bray coming out with his entrance with his old theme song, because I actually thought, like I said in the preview. It's made me realize how much I loved that version of Bray in the early days of it, and I was getting nostalgic about watching like the hype videos, you know, earlier in the day, and then I thought, well, there's not going to be an entrance, and I'd really like to see that again. So I went and watched the WrestleMania 30 entrance when he had the band and all that, and the dancer at the beginning, and I was just like, oh, yeah, this is amazing. I've got my Bray entrance fixed now. And then he went and did an entrance anyway. I was like, oh, wicked.
I used to love it in the arenas with the lights, the fireflies and stuff. Yeah, it always used to look really cool.
He's always a great imagery, you know, always. You know, well, Nexus was great. It's just he wasn't the best part of it.
Yeah, but I mean, for this, I think though, for me, this wasn't necessarily a match. Even it was just, it was more of like you're sitting there and you're watching a program between like these two guys that, you know, kind of knew each other and used to be like really close and stuff. But it's just, I think it left me more confused. It left me asking more questions than it gave me answers, kind of thing.
The good thing that come out of this, I think, for me was. I see a meme of Braun Strowman. You know the Spider-Man when they're pointing at each other? Both of Braun Strowman's faces on it. So that just made my day. I think I watched it and about 10 minutes later that meme come up on Twitter. I was like, perfect. That now I can rest easy and go to bed without whinging. But yeah, I mean, it did confuse me. I enjoyed, if they had just said Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt, the old Bray Wyatt are going to meet, or even if that would have been perfect for something like that in a contract signing. I know that sounds odd, but Braun could have signed his, taken it to Bray, and then Bray could have just done all this and then at the end signed it as the Fiend.
Right.
And then we had this whole, just something like that, and then it's done. Like, I would have accepted the 20-minute match or 20-minute segment of a signing for a contract over this was supposed to be a match, but it didn't make sense. Like, I just... 1 minute the boat's going away and then it come back again, and I was
the fact he was what, but he wasn't like that when it went. Like, it goes naturally on its own and he's fine with that, but as soon as it starts coming back, what? Why weren't you confused when it left? There was still no driver there.
Scooby-Doo-ish.
It was.
That's how I looked at it. You know, there was that. I liked bits of it, and then they wouldn't get in the water, and then they were in the water. I just felt like they had an idea of what they were going to do, and it was kind of just scribbled on paper, and they kind of made it up as they went along. Like, there was
very all over the place.
Story. Yeah,
I get
cinematic. I enjoyed it.
I get a feeling as well that someone like Braun is probably not very creative in the nicest possible way. I don't want to disbar him too much because he's literally twice the size of all of us combined. But I just get a feeling that obviously with the AJ and Taker match, even if they both thought it was ridiculous, that both of them are creative enough to kind of go, right, let's come up with little bits and pieces we can do. I think Bray, obviously, he's very invested in this character, and he's very good at it, and he knows what he's doing. But I get a feeling that Braun is just a bit like, if it's not power slamming someone or lifting a vehicle, that's literally his range. Which is fine if you want to present him like the new Goldberg kind of thing, but they can't do that because they ruined him for years before he won the championship. In terms of this match, like, it's weird to say, like, you know, I really like the second half of this match. I felt there was too much talking though. When they were talking in the torture little room bit,
I thought that went on for ages. I
thought that was too long.
He weren't
I
even
don't understand
chained
how
up.
he couldn't. No, I was gonna say, how could he be? He can lift an ambulance, but he can't break out of them chains. Like,
well, one of them called the breaker chains before or something like that. I can't. Well, didn't they use that name before as well?
He literally could have just stood up and just gone like that, and he was.
Yeah.
Did they change the rocking chair as well, or am I seeing things? Well,
they have changed it a little bit. Yeah,
they have. Yeah.
Half seen.
But I looked and I was like, I'm sure that's not the same one. But then I was thinking, do you know what? Didn't the original one get burnt in the feud against Taker?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, he's lightning something in it, lightning strike.
Yeah. So I'm thinking if they changed it for that reason, then at least there was continuity in it. Yeah. And I enjoyed that. That kind of made me think, oh, maybe.
Yeah. But the thing is, something like that, though, I think that's where Bray would actually be a bit like,
he'd know that's
the same one.
Exactly.
He would know. And I think he's very smart like that. End of the day, the end part of this will be what's kind of remembered. And I felt that was very good. And all this show done, through the good and the bad, is make me want to campaign to get Halloween Havoc as an actual pay-per-view. Because honestly, you can say what you want about cinematic matches and whether it's wrestling, blah, blah, all you want. But honestly, that last 5 minutes just literally made me think of Halloween. And you think of the Friday the 13th. Is that same thing?
Yeah.
Boat, the lake.
A proper spooky pay-per-view. Exactly.
Yeah, it was...
like I even like Bray's Firefly Funhouse earlier in the night. There should have been more of that. Like Halloween SmackDowns over the year, Halloween Raws that have fallen on Halloween and stuff like that. And they've done like parties in the back. Why we should get stuff like that? Like the whole show should be littered with like. They had the graphic come up and they had that scream all the time and stuff. But there should have been things all over. I guess because it weren't Halloween, like they weren't going to have pumpkins and stuff, for example. But if this was around Halloween, and they did have Halloween, brought Halloween Havoc back, or just made the horror show a pay-per-view itself away from Extreme Rules, then there's so much potential in this pay-per-view.
Well, here's my pitch to WWE. Halloween this year falls on a Saturday, the 31st of October. Don't know why I said the date. That's when it always is.
This year it's going to be.
Halloween falls 31st of October this year. The first ever time. It's on a Saturday. Please, WWE, make your NXT TakeOver pay-per-view called Halloween Havoc and have the return of the demon Finn Balor in the main event for the NXT Championship. Please then just give me the percentages that I've just given you, the merchandise and the DVD sales and the network subscriptions you will gain in that month from having that match on pay-per-view. Book this match now. The demon against the NXT champion, Keith Lee. Do it. Just do it. I don't care what else on the card. You can have whatever else you want on the card. Just do it. It would just be absolute perfection. And we need it. We need a Halloween show. It's just really odd we haven't had one. This show made me want one even more.
Yeah, and especially that they got to do Great American Bash, and they're bringing up In Your House. It'd be great. It'd fit right in with what they've been doing.
Yeah.
Best thing to do is wait nearer the time. See what AEW are doing that weekend, and then we'll get a bit of an idea as to whether summit's going to actually happen or not. But yeah, I think as I say, the one thing I did notice as well at the start when Braun's approaching in the car and he's sitting in that rocking chair, just drive straight at him.
Yeah.
You're trying to win a match here. Just drive straight at him. He ain't going to bloody get up if you hit him, is he?
Not that great, yeah.
Exactly, and it would have been over. The nice little cameo as well from Alexa Bliss in there.
Yeah, so what do we
like-
think of that? Because for years, the whole Sister Abigail thing is like everyone was obsessed with it. It was going to be this one, it was going to be that one. Then it didn't matter, then it did matter. Then they mentioned it, then they didn't mention it. You know,
Nikki
so
Cross, wasn't it?
rumors of that as well. Yeah, so now it just seemed like they gave up on it quite a few times. So if this was a few years ago, this would be part of story. This would be, you know, canon. You know, like it would be. But now they don't do that. Like, because like so. Again, this is why I don't like the cinematic stuff, especially the spooky dream stuff. Yeah, even though it can look cool, if there's no like, if they're not within the parameters of pro wrestling, this is why it doesn't work. Because was that Alexa Bliss? You know what I mean? Like, are we supposed to believe? Are we seeing things like seeing two Brauns is like? There's no point even getting into that. You know, it's like when I said we thought there'd be a bar fight if they had blurred vision, and I didn't want to see that kind of thing. You know, I didn't want to see the camera pretending to be a wrestler. But it's the same here. Like, what is Alexa Bliss now, Sister Abigail, or is that in his head? You know, like, and why it doesn't make any sense storyline wise because she's a babyface with Nikki. You know, so why would it be now? I get what they did in previous storyline. They wanted to link it up with Bray. I like that idea of it. But before, it would have been commitment. And now WWE just don't commit. They don't have to commit because they go, but that wasn't real. Why are we watching it? You know, oh, that was in Bray's head. What are you talking about? It was in Bray's head. You know what I mean? Like, it's stupid. I mean, Braun's head. Like, it's stupid. So it's like they can do anything with no consequence now because they've just told us nothing matters.
I reckon if they'd have done it in general and it wasn't to do with, if they'd have just done that and all of a sudden she lifted the veil kind of thing was lifted and it was Alexa Bliss, there'd be more questions. But because it was in a swamp match and it's to do with Bray, you kind of get away with it because it's mind like, it's like the Firefly Funhouse. On the Funhouse match, you don't know what's going on.
You just got to accept it, yeah.
Yeah, but I would accept the two Brauns and things because you don't know how weird it is with Bray. I mean, I read a theory earlier, something to do with the buzzard Bray Wyatt he was trying to clamber out of the water, and I was reading it was something to do with Bray has to stay in the water for the Fiend to be who he is, because if Bray leaves and the Fiend is like the area where they were in the swamp is the hill area, and everywhere else or something like that, it was the hurt and the hill, and that's reflected in it. But there was so much, and it was really early in the morning, man, like 4 or 5 in the morning. And I was like, I get it, but I'll read back at a later date. But I enjoyed the whole idea of it and stuff. If they do something like that and use the swamp as a reason, then I'm all for whatever they do in there, because it's not real, but it's real to that person kind of thing.
I'd argue what they could do is WWE have a network. I don't understand why they use it great for so many things. But honestly, could it be worth just having a 20-minute special on Bray Wyatt? Just a 20-minute kind of, you know, his world, however they're building it, and a story of what's gone on, basically. So that we as fans can at least get to know the character and get to know where we're going. And, you know, we can sit here and say we don't like it or whatever, but at least we go, oh, okay, this is why this is happening, why it's existing, why it is. I think the problem with Alexa Bliss as well, that was more that she was used early on the same show. It's not obviously like she'd been off TV for ages and now this is her first appearance for ages. So we are a bit like, well, she literally was just cheerleading for Nikki Cross. And she'd been on SmackDown Tag Team Championships matches a few weeks ago. But now she's in this. So, yeah, that was a bit problematic. But I think, you know, overall, I think the minute, I think they're just hoping or guaranteeing that most people know that the minute a cinematic match begins, it kind of doesn't matter until the end. Like, all this stuff is out of canon, and the rest of the stuff is that you saw on the show is stuff we're going to continue with, and that actually matters. But yeah, overall for me with this one, like I said, just a bit too much talking. But I did enjoy the second half and some nice little teasers. But all it did, like I said, was make me want Home and Havoc. And so yeah, book it.
Yeah. I don't want to go on. Not with life. That's a bit extreme. I mean, like moaning, like, because again, I like the Bliss thing, and it made sense in storyline. I just like, you'll commit to it then. Let her be Sister Abigail, like, because there'll probably be a bit where Braun goes up to her and she's like, that didn't happen. It's like, they do that in films. So you watch a film, I don't want to say certain films because there's spoilers for the entire film. There are certain films, if you've seen them, you would know. Like, so it'll probably pop to your head if I'm explaining it now, but there are certain films where you find out someone was seeing things, and you find out someone was, you know what I mean, like had mental health issues or whatever it is, you know. So, and we find out at the end, and we realize, like, and it's wow, what an incredible twist, you know. So that's why I won't say which films, but so if it's a film, yeah, but wrestling isn't a film, so that's why it's really tough. Same thing I said last month, really, about on Backlash as well. But what this really made me feel. Sorry, go on, mate.
I was going to say, what if the idea of they're going to bring back Sister Abigail, but the idea is it's the person that it's not a love, but there's a deep feeling for, because Braun and Alexa done the mixed match challenge. They travel together and things like that. So unless they're going to bring that back and make that a continuous thing of,
like they see a certain
specific
person.
So to everyone else, it's different.
Still not real, though. You know what I mean? That's the problem. Like if they do it, but I said there's no rules anymore, are there? You know. But again, like this just makes me feel like, and I don't want to say stuff like this because I love WWE and I hate the fanboy stuff, but it made me think I just want to watch a New Japan show or an AEW show. I just want to watch wrestling now. I just want to be like, because like me and Dan did the AEW Double or Nothing thing. At the end of it, we were like, what an incredible wrestling event. You know, and right, you had the Lake of Reincarnation silliness with Matt, but it was only one thing, you know, like, and I still had an issue with that, but it was only one thing, and it was funny how they did it. But just like, it just makes me at the end of this, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to at the end of the show go, kind of wish I watched another company tonight. I don't want to feel that way because I'm not that way. You know, I love those companies, but I absolutely love the WWE. That's why we're sitting here talking about all this. But I hate that feeling at the end of it going, I wish I was watching something else.
Yeah, or I wish I'd just gone to bed and watched the highlights. The amount of times that I felt like that. And, you know, this was one of those that I literally felt like, other than one, maybe one or two matches, I could have literally highlighted this and read the, the catch up. And that's how this one made me feel.
It was literally go on, mate, sorry.
I'm saying it's more frustrating because a lot of that's down to dodgy finishes in the booking.
Yeah.
More so because, I mean, Asuka and Sasha Banks was a brilliant match. Match, and so did Rollins and Rey. But they were just tied down to awful finishes. And I think if those had been better, I think people would have seen past this. You know, the potential problems in the swamp fight. Also of note that Braun Strowman has never main evented a pay-per-view since he's been Universal Champion until now, and it's not been for the belt. And so the last time the Universal Championship was on the line, the main event was in Saudi when the Fiend lost to Goldberg, which seems like years ago now. Remember fan people? Remember Saudi?
Well, you'd have to have a Saudi show now. Do you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, this just felt like the pay-per-view that didn't matter. You know, at the end of it, you just go, none of that mattered. All the performances, fantastic, but did it really matter? And that's what I'm disappointed about.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, talking of stuff that matters, we move into obviously our little prediction table that we've been running. So obviously, I'm sure you guys remember what you picked from last time. So the final match, obviously, was the swamp fight. Scott and Rob, you both said that Bray Wyatt would come out of that victorious. Me and Lucas both went the opposite way, said that Braun Strowman would come out victorious. So how that leaves the table is as follows. We have joint leaders at the top of the table is Scott and Rob, both on 12 points. Closely followed, unfortunately, because Sasha Banks' win did not count, is me with 11 points. And bringing up the rear...
screwed you over, mate.
I know, man. Well, to be fair, if the original booking had happened, I wouldn't have got a point anyway. You guys were in front. So, and then bringing up the rear with 8 points is Lucas. So you need to be getting to Vince's head a bit more.
Yeah, stop coming up with these crazy Otis theories.
Yeah. Just think, what is Vince going to do?
Yeah.
So, go on, I've got a quick question. How many points do we get if we get a clean sweep all the way through the pay-per-view?
You get
that's too much thinking, mate.
A point per match.
Oh, we can try and think about adding something like that in.
I mean, can we have an extra point?
Oh, see, we've got the bonus point thing if you want to remember the whole thing about being specific. So if you want to say they win but they don't get a belt, you know, that kind of thing. You can get an extra point for that. But which could have happened here with Sasha. We could have said, I think she'll win, but technically won't be the champ. But none of us thought to do that because we didn't think WWE would do something quite as ridiculous as they did. So, too much faith in them, I guess.
It's like, I suppose, like it would have been one of the things where if someone had got like the stipulation for the Drew match like spot on, we would have been like, okay, get an extra point because you got the match right, kind of thing. But
Maybe, yeah.
yeah, so me and Lucas have got obviously a bit of catching up to do. You guys have just got to be consistent now, and that's it. And then
Yeah, me and Rob got a bit of social distancing to do, mate. I'm trying to get away from this fast. Yeah.
2 meters or 1 meter plus.
yeah, definitely.
I'll take 2 points above you. That'll do.
2 points, yeah. Cool. Thanks a lot, guys, for joining us for this show. Thank you guys for sticking around and watching us. You know, it's been a long one. Extreme Rules obviously is out the window. We now roll forward on to the biggest party of the summer, SummerSlam, where we will be
Probably
back.
the only party of summer at this rate, but
We'll probably be back sometime in the middle of August with our predictions for that. And then obviously we'll go with the SummerSlam review, which will probably be the 24th, 25th of August. Obviously now the show's been confirmed for the 23rd. So don't forget, like, share and subscribe, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, everything like that. You can check us out at rednoise.com. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.